Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Satch. Welcome back to another edition of This or That. And just in case you don't know what the This or That videos are, what I like to do is ask you a question, sometimes give you a couple of answers, but remember, you can always answer it however you want to, because on our video, there are no wrong answers. So, today's question has to do with yarn bombing. Now, I wanted to discuss this back in June, but because of my health issues, I was unable to really get into it and delve into it. International Yarn Bombing Day is June 11th every year, and I have participated in it from time to time. Now, one of the things that I used to do in Parker was we would make scarves and hats, and we'd put little notes on them that say, "I'm not lost, this is for you." And we would put them on the statues in the downtown area. That's one way of doing yarn bombing, but what actually is yarn bombing? So I've got a couple of things to explain it. I copied this off the internet. You can find it there. It says yarn bombing is a type of street art that involves covering public objects with knitted or crocheted yarn. It's June 11th, and here are some things you might want to know about yarn bombing. Okay, so I've got a couple of points here. It says, other names for yarn bombing is wool bombing, yarn storming, guerrilla knitting, and knitting urban or graffiti knitting. Okay, then it says the origin. Yarn bombing originated in Texas, but has since spread around the entire world. In Texas, I kind of like that. So what is the purpose of yarn bombing? Yarn bombing is said to be done with the intentions of beautifying everyday objects. And I'm going to show you some pictures, and I showed you some at the beginning of the video. I'm going to show them to you again, and you'll see that there's things like trees and pipes and old bicycle, things like that, that maybe aren't all that beautiful, and then you can put crochet or knitted things on it. All right, permission. Yarn bombing is illegal unless done with the permission of the owner of the property or host organization. In other words, you can't just go into somebody else's yard and yarn bomb their trees. But some people do. All right, the celebration. Yarn Bombing Day is celebrated on June 11th, as I stated. And ways to celebrate include researching past projects, creating your own yarn bombs, or looking for local events. Okay, so let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I wanted to say nitty. Of yarn bombing. Now, yarn bombing, what I have done in the past are things like yarn bomb my own fence with a bunch of flowers or those twirly things. I've also yarn bombed my trees with buntings and things like that on Yarn Bombing Day. It was really a big deal in the small town that I lived in Parker, Colorado. They really enjoy that. And as long as it's done publicly, and the other thing that's also required is that after a couple of days you come and take it down. And that's one of the things that bugs me just a little bit about yarn bombing, is it's absolutely gorgeous. It is art. I do believe that. But if you leave it there and it gets, brown or black, dirty, off, because a lot of times the road pavement will spray off and it'll get some of that tar off the road or dirt off the road, and it starts looking pretty dingy. It's time to take it down before it gets that way. And that is one of my things that kind of bugs me about the yarn bombing, is that we don't get it cleaned up in time and it looks pretty dirty. All right, so I'm going to show you some examples of some yarn bombing that I think is pretty cute, pretty cool, and also kind of silly and fun at the same time. So let's take a quick look at some of those pictures, and you can find these on the internet as well. I just snatched some pictures that I thought were super cool and that showed you exactly what yarn bombing can be when it's done right. All right, so back to our question. Have you ever participated in some yarn bombing? Have you ever yarn bombed at all? Or just helped, others in doing something like a lot of those are big group projects. All right. So what is your opinion? Do you like it? Would you do it? Or maybe you wouldn't. Or you don't see a purpose in it. It's okay. One of the neat things about yarn bombing, in my opinion, is you can take a lot of things, leftover yarn, and you can make big flowers and hearts and different things and decorate with them. And it's used as a decoration, and you've used up some leftover yarns, and your yarn is not wasted. Okay? But yarn bombing is not something that everybody likes to do. Some people don't like it at all. I think it's kind of fun. One of the things that I found really fun when we were in Colorado is when we would go and do some hiking, and we'd be up in the mountains and stuff, and you'd come across a tree that would be yarn bombed. And it'd have little notes on it saying, like they safety pinned them on the yarn, and it would say, have a great day, happy hiking, things like that. And I think that was a lot of fun. Again, it was fresh and clean, and hopefully they took it down before it got dingy. And just a real quick note, if you've never done like a group yarn bombing thing and you really would love to try it, there are lots of organizations that you can find online. Just Google it and they'll come up. And you can Google yarn bombing organizations, and you can Google your city, and they will tell you, what they've got going on and what they want to do. But keep in mind also, the big group projects are usually done in preparation for June 11th, which, of course, again, June 11th is International Yarn Bombing Day. So again, remember, comment your answer. There are no wrong answers, and I love to read your comments. I read every comment. I don't always get a chance, to write, because a lot of times I'm on my iPad, on my bike, reading and writing at the same time. But I do really read every single comment, and I appreciate all of them. Okay? So, yarn bombing, yes or no? Well, thanks for being with me today. This is a fun short video, and I hope you'll look at those pictures again, and even go on Google or whatever search engine that you use and put in yarn bombing images, and you'll be amazed at all the beautiful artwork that people do. All right? All right, so I'll see you next time for another edition of this or that, or maybe the other thing. See you next time.